Hello, everyone. It's good to see you all. Before we get started, can we just do a quick audio check? Can somebody give me a thumbs up if they can hear me? Perfect. Thanks, David. And I'm going to share an outline of tonight's webinar. And if you could just give me a thumbs up if you can see the slide on the screen. Awesome. Thanks. Really appreciate it. It's 7, and I want to be respectful of your time, so we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Nigel. I am the Director of Ops for DataClassroom and a former science and math high school teacher and science coordinator for a public school district here in Virginia. And I'm so happy that you could join us tonight. If we take a look at this slide, this is our outline. So we are going to be just doing a little introduction to the tools that DataClassroom provides. We'll start off with the teacher point of view of creating a class, getting students set up, and creating and modifying some assignments. And then we'll look at what the student sees as well as we go along. Um, this is a very relaxed webinar, so if you have any questions, please go ahead and raise your hand, or better yet, unmute and speak up. I'm the only moderator from DataClassroom here tonight, and I'll be looking at what we're talking about on the screen, so I might miss your hands. But once again, welcome. Feel free to interrupt at any time, and I will also stay on after as well to answer any questions you have. I had a couple requests for trial extensions from some of you who are attending tonight. If anybody else needs a trial extension, just pop it in chat, and I can get to that really quickly. All right, so DataClassroom is a web app. If you are not familiar, it can be accessed from any web-enabled device. We have found that any screen smaller than an iPad can experience some glitches, however. But iPads work great, Chromebooks work great. Any web-enabled device works well. You can sign up for DataClassroom on our website. It's free. You don't need a credit card. You just need a valid email address. Once you sign up, you'll receive 30 days of access to all the paid features. And then once those 30 days pass, your account will just have access to the free features, which are numerous. The main differences between the paid and free versions are the systems and LMS integration with your school, uploading your own data, and the statistics tests. But the resource library and all the graphing tools are part of the free package. Once you have signed up and created your account, you will be you'll find yourself at our dashboard. You'll see your name, the type of account you have, whether it's a teacher or student account, and some other very useful buttons that we'll go over. If by accident you sign up for a student account and you need a teacher account, or your students sign up and say they're teachers when they should be students, you just shoot me an email and I can change that on our end. There aren't a whole lot of differences, except that the teachers have the ability to request answer keys for the lessons in the resource library, and teachers have the ability to see the lesson plans for the lessons in the resource library. Other than that, your dashboards are going to look very similar. When you come in here, you're probably going to want to do just a little bit of exploring to begin with. So one of the first places that You can familiarize yourself with Data Classroom and its tools is by clicking on your name in the top right and going down to our learning checklist. This learning checklist will give you some text, some screenshots, and some videos of some important topics in teaching data to your students. First, there are some lessons about students in classes, graphing, statistics, and working with data down here. And I am ashamed to say I don't have checkboxes for all those. I'm going to have to fix that. This can also be a useful tool for students who are familiarizing themselves with Data Classroom. Let's go back to our dashboard by clicking on the logo in the top left there. And as a teacher, one of the things that you're going to want to do is give your students access to Data Classroom. And the way that Data Classroom does that is by the teacher's creating a class. When you create a class, you will then share your license, your paid features with all the students in your classes. Um, we're going to name this a webinar class. And we'll say it's a webinar class. One of the main security features that Data Classroom and many tech apps have is that we never send emails to students. And so we can't send them an email telling them what their password is. And the way that we get around that is by having the teacher set the initial password for their students. So when you see in this box, it says initial Data Classroom password for new members. If when you add students to this class, it's their first time having a Data Classroom account, this will be their password. So you want to make it simple. Password for Nigel's class. And then in this, you just add all of your students' emails. And we will click create. And it has to have some numbers and some letters. I'll try that. There we go. All right. And so now you've created a class, and you can see that your classes, when you click on my class, webinar class is down here at the bottom. And you can manage your class here. If you need to add or remove students, you click on the show the manage class, and here you can remove students from your class or add students who are joining after the class begins or that weren't caught in the initial creation. And that is the end of creating classes. So I'm going to pause for a minute and take any questions. All right, no questions, I don't think. And if there's an audio problem and I'm just not hearing anything, feel free to type in chat. All right, yeah, no questions. Yep. Yeah, all of the major LMSs can be integrated with Megan, Canvas, Schoology, all of those. Yep. Google is one of the LMSs or content management systems that don't need anything from us, whereas with Canvas and such, we just have to talk to your IT folks. But it's a very simple process, and we can get it done very quickly. Great question. All right. So once you've created a class and added your students, then it's time to look at some possible assignments or activities that they can do. And we have We're going to enter our resource library here. It's the banner at the top of the dashboard. And you can see there currently are 160 data sets with lesson plans that are in the resource library, and we're adding more all the time. And most of the ones we add are at the request of our customers. So if you have particular topics, or even better yet, a particular data set that you would like a lesson to be written around, please do share with us, and we will happily accommodate that if we can. There are a few ways to navigate the data sets in the resource library. You can navigate it by subject here. You can see biology, chemistry, and sci, math, physics, social science, stats, earth and space science. You can navigate by statistical concept. For example, if you're looking for lessons that are great for making bar graphs or box and whiskers, or doing a line of regression, a t-test, that's another way to search. You can also search by grade level or restrict the results by grade level by dragging this across. Um, I have found that the grade level search function sometimes hides lessons that I could modify very quickly to be appropriate for my grade level. So just exercise caution when restricting the grade level. And then also you can use the search bar up here to search for any keywords that exist either in the description or the assignment. So here we're going to look for cicadas, and you'll see this button here, Open Lesson Plan, is only available if you have a teacher account. If you have a student account, it opens up. All you see is the open data set. We will click on Open Data Set. And when we open a data set, we're greeted with this screen, which is the raw data table screen. Before we do an overview of that, though, I want to draw your attention to the Attachments tab at the top. And this is where your assignments or activities can be found. You'll notice that there are two attachments in this particular data set, an assignment one and a tutorial lesson. The tutorial lesson is based off of the assignment, but it has screenshots and text help to show you how to complete the assignment in DataClassroom. Um, for example, we'll see, all right, here's a screenshot of the data table, and here is what each part of the data table means. Here is how to create that first graph, what to put on X, what to put on Y, etc. If we look at the assignment, all of DataClassroom's assignments follow the same general format. There is a background about the data set, such as who collected it, where it was collected, and when it was collected. There is a short description of each of the variables and what they represent. And then there finally is an activity that is meant to prompt students to explore the story that is in the data set. You can see here that there is space for students to enter their work. And that's because each of the assignments, each of the attachments are actually a Google Doc. And so over on the right-hand side, you have a couple ways to go about editing this assignment. You can download it as a Word doc, and you can, finish the assignment that way, or you can click the edit, which is right here. It's prompting me to save a copy. So I'll do that. Once I save a copy, I will click edit. Yes, edit. Um, and then it is going to give me and open up a tab that looks, just like a Google Doc. I'll share this tab instead. So now you can see I'm in a Google Doc of that assignment, and I'm able to edit it. If we go up here and I'll just edit it. Here we'll say for webinar. So I have edited it. I'm going to go back now to Data Classroom, and I'll click reload, and you'll see that it has updated my assignment in Data Classroom with the edits I made in the Google Doc. So they're linked. So as students complete the assignment in this activity, put their graphs in and answer the questions, it will automatically update the same assignment in their Data Classroom account. When they're all completed, they can then download that doc as a PDF and upload it to whatever LMS you're using for class. They can download it as a Word and share it that way, or they can share the Google Doc link with you as well. So we've covered kind of quickly looking at the resource library and an assignment. So I just want to pause and take any questions that you have about those things. All right. Well, if there's no questions, I will move on. We're going to take, yeah, that's correct. I will tell you that whenever I use Data Classroom with students, I always have them upload because there's no way in Data Classroom to view multiple students' work all at once, or to kind of, you have to, select the student, look at their work that way. And I found it to be just a little more time consuming when I'm grading work or reviewing work. So I usually have them share a link or upload. Yeah. Um, Good question. All right. So we're going to just take a moment and kind of go through this data set since we have it open as a student might. All right. So we'll go back to the table where we have the raw data set. You'll notice that I actually, just looking at my notes here, I missed a little section. So we're going to pause on exploring the data set, and I'm going to continue in our train of thought of assignments, because we kind of got straight into the student finishing assignment. And I want to make sure you know that as a teacher, you can change this assignment however you like. And if you don't like the assignment at all, you can create your own assignment and add it as an attachment, and delete these assignments if you so choose. So if you want to add videos, you don't like our questions, you can edit the assignment however you like and save it. And that assignment and that data set is saved there. And so if after you've done the edits that you want to share it with your class, we just come over to this hamburger menu in the top left, and I don't want to save a copy. We want to share. And here is the share menu. And at first, the share menu can be a little confusing. It's based off of Google sharing. And so I just want to go over it, how you can do this. So on the left are my list of classes. And if I want to share this data set as an assignment with this class, let's say the webinar class here, number 2 on our list, I'm going to click View. And that means that students can't edit the original, that Data Classroom will make their own copy for them. If instead you choose Edit, you'll get this little pop-up, and that means that they are editing the original that you just finished sharing with them. And so your data set will change as they make changes. So most of the time, teachers want to share using the view. Sometimes in a group project, students will want to share edit privileges with each other. So they're all kind of working on the same copy. Other ways to share if you don't have classes is by sharing a link where everybody can view. Again, there's another link that you can create where they can edit. Um, and you can also choose to notify classes here. I'm going to click done. And when I do so, everybody in that class will have gotten a notification. And this little bell up here will have a red dot on it saying there's a new notification. And then the data set that's been shared will show up in this message, and they can click directly there and find it. Alternatively, on their dashboard, under recently shared with you, they will have a list of data sets their teacher has shared with them there as well. I'm going to go back here, and because I took a break too quick, I'll take another one. All right, Scott, I'm reading your question. Lots of stress. I need to read fast. They do not need, how? That's a great question, Scott. So they don't have email at all. And they don't need, students don't really need even real email. Let me let me ask our engineers that question. But here's what I think, Scott. I think it would work. I think that we could make up things for them. Just any type of login and password. But let me ask our engineers and get back to you if that's all right. That's a great question. Any other questions? All right. So yeah, I am. We really do have a great engineering department that's able to do almost anything if it's possible, and so I don't want to put them in a bad spot, but I think that we can absolutely do that for you, Dean. Scott. All right, so let's just take a little bit of time to look at this data set together and kind of see uh, what the resource library has and what students will kind of be working with when they start working with data. Um, Here's the raw data. You'll notice that it's in a very particular format that scientists call tidy format or long format. Every column is a variable, which helps students start thinking in terms of variable. And then every row is an observation of those variables. This is a format that makes it easy for machines like computers to read, interpret, and modify the data that's contained therein. You'll notice up at the top, we have our description of the data set. We also have these three groups of checks. The first is, was their data imported? We've got a check mark there. And the second is our prepare checklist. Does the data set have a description filled out? It's always good practice. Does each column have a typeset? So, for example, under the sex, we have categorical. Under head width, we have numeric. Under species group, categorical again, and so on. If we need help with knowing what type there is, you'll find that Data Classroom normally will have a learn more or a question mark along each step of their data journey to provide just-in-time instruction and help for getting through each of those points. So here is short descriptions of each type of data that you can choose in Data Classroom, what they are, and then of course there's always a few exceptions. Categorical values are short and categorical values are unique. It'll give us warnings if any of those aren't true and give us the option to fix it, to help us fix it, or to ignore it. Once we're all set up, now it's time to go graph. We can graph by switching to the Graph tab or opening the Graph Wizard. The Graph Wizard is something that I go through in another webinar, so we won't go through the Graph Wizard, but it's an alternative way to kind of step by step and prompt by prompt look at different types of graphs and the questions that they answer. For now, we'll just switch to the Graph tab. And we'll notice now we have our big graph window, our variable control panel on the right, and our list of variables along the top. So we'll just start beginning to show our variables, and you'll notice they start to fill out in our variable control panel. And I'll put them all in there. As I was clicking, Data Classroom automatically graphed the first two variables that I clicked. Here it's sex and head width, but I can easily change my variables by just clicking down in my variable control panel. I can put species group on X, annual temp, just by clicking down here. I can, if I would like. So for example, here my question is, is there a difference between male and female head widths? When I click down here, I'm asking the question, is there a difference between species groups head widths? If I'd like to break that out by sex, I can put sex on Z. And now we'll see, all right, I'm looking at species groups head widths, but I'm also graphing male and female head widths at the same time within those species. If I want to, I can group by Z and I can see the differences broken out between the different species groups. And I can even get descriptive stats. So if I would like to get, let's say, the mean based with maybe 95 confidence interval here, I can get the actual numbers for each of those groups along with, broken out by male and female. If this visual exploration of the question isn't enough, or I'm finished with it and I'm ready to move on to a statistical test, a math test, I simply click the graph-driven hypothesis button up here. It's a bell with a magnifying glass. I'm going to put show advanced options, which everybody has now. And Data Classroom will say, because you have more than one categorical value on X, a numeric on Y, and more than one categorical on Z, the appropriate test is a two-way ANOVA. I'll click calculate. In as few words as we could possibly pare down to, we explain why we are going to use a two-way ANOVA test and how it works. I click calculate, and then we'll get our our results here. Anywhere you see a camera icon, that can be copied to the clipboard and then pasted in whatever document or journal um, or software that you or the students are using. So that is a quick rundown. I want to just take a quick break there and answer any questions you have. All right. So, what we have covered so far has been um, creating a class or logging in and creating a class, um, modifying attachments or adding attachments. And after we edit them, sharing them with a class or sharing them via link with specific individuals. Um, for the last few minutes, we'll just touch on what it means. Um, I see another chat. Yes, absolutely, Scott. So the reason I chose the cicada data set is because it has a mix of categorical and numeric, but there are lots of data sets um, with much fewer variables. And always remember that you, as the teacher, can delete as many of those. Um, and I'm gonna show that really quick in here. Um, for example, maybe I just want my students to explore the relationship between head width and male and female. So I will um, delete all of these other columns like so, and then save um, my data set and then share it. And now the data set that I've shared and the ones that students will see only has two variables. So that's one way. Another way is we can come up here, we'll get rid of this search, and we'll just, we'll do sixth grade. And so these are all data sets and resources and lessons that are appropriate for sixth grade. Now, of course, there's always a continuum of appropriateness. And so, as the teacher who knows your students best, you might, want to modify these lessons more before you share them, just to make sure you know, um, they're good for your students in your class. Hope that answers your question, Scott. Yep, I totally understand. It's one of the it's one of the reasons why just be careful with the grade level, because you might find something that a topic that your students will just be in love with, um, but it's it because of the lesson or whatever, it's graded grade 12. But with just a few deleting of columns and maybe a few rewording of questions, you can make it appropriate for your students. Good questions. All right. So, from a student perspective, um, they won't be able to request answer keys. They won't be able to see lesson plans, um, but they can enter the resource library and open up any data set. Um, so if you, as a teacher, think, hey, you know what, this photosynthesis lab is good to go as it is, and I just want my students to do this, after another lab or on a rainy day, you can just say, hey, everybody go find the photosynthesis lab and open it up or try it. You can, so students can come in here and they can open up any of the data sets that you see and begin working on them as their own. They don't have to receive an assignment or be shared an assignment from you in order to have access to the resource library. Finally, again, once students have chosen their role in sign up, right now we don't have a way because of the lack of email ability to have them change it. So if you need any roles changed from teacher to student or student to teacher, you just drop me an email and I can take care of that right away for you, even though there's not a large difference. And I want to thank all of you for coming. The final thing that we will go over is entering your own data. And for both students and teachers, they'll have this import data button. When they click on that, they can fetch data from a Google spreadsheet. That creates a link to that spreadsheet. And so if you update the spreadsheet with more data or less data, it will be reflected in DataClassroom. You can upload a spreadsheet from your computer, so a CSV file, an Excel file. You can copy and paste data into these cells here, or you could start with an empty table and manually enter your data into DataClassroom. Once it's entered into DataClassroom, it acts like any data set in our resource library. It's not visible to anybody like the resource library, but it behaves the same. You can create attachments for it. You can share it with others, either by view or edit, etc. And that is all I have for you tonight. I will stay on to answer any questions you have. I want to thank you so much for taking almost 40 minutes out of, I know, what is supposed to be a relaxing evening and joining us to learn about DataClassroom and the tools that might help you and your students learn data this year. Really appreciate you all. Thank you so much for what you do. I know it's hard work, but I hope and pray that the fruits of all the educators' labors will be evident